Two giants of the game have made it into the final four of the UEFA Champions League. There was no comeback story on yesterday's first day of quarter-final action as Real Madrid made Stamford Bridge theirs after getting by Chelsea 2-0 to win 4-0 on aggregate. And AC Milan drew 1-1 with Napoli at the Maradona to win 2-1 on aggregate. Today, four teams battle for the final two semi-final spots. Our featured match will be at the San Siro. Inter Milan has a 2-goal advantage heading into their matchup with Benfica, while Manchester City are in the driver's seat as well as the passenger seat, and they're heading to the Allianz Arena with a 3-0 advantage over Bayern Munich. We welcome you to our coverage here on the home of champions. My name is Donald Oliver. Let's welcome the team today. On hand in studio, Eric Rademacher, technical director at the Kingston Football Academy and an assistant coach at the local Premier League club, Arnett Gardens, and the young man who has been making waves for us in the analytical chair this season, Leger Williams. Gentlemen, let's recap yesterday just a little bit, because it was a pretty tough day, predictably, for Chelsea, who just couldn't get it done, couldn't come from behind. The issue with conversion haunted them, and Real Madrid took advantage, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to some Chelsea fans as well, and it was a good effort, you know, a good try. I don't think they'll be too disappointed with, you know, the level of desire shown on the field, but it's lacking that quality up front to really make a difference. And, you know, you can say, well tried, but at the end of the day, Chelsea fans, they want to step up to that level of a top club in the world, and yesterday was obvious that they're not there, at least not this season.
Yeah, it has been an issue for them this season, their consistency, Lig.
Yeah, all across the season, all across the board, especially in terms of goal scoring. They've lacked really having a natural finisher up top for quite some time now. It just wasn't good for them. As Eric said, that they showed a lot of fight, they showed a lot of heart. I'm sure that's all Lampard would have wanted from them, but in the end, that wasn't enough against the decisiveness, especially of Real Madrid,
who basically didn't come out of first gear, I thought, in this second leg. They took it easy, invited a lot of pressure, survived.
And it was similar in the first leg. We discussed it before the match. They really stepped into a high gear, that desire that they want to score and convert every chance. They could have been a lot worse for Chelsea over the two games. Not
quite a fairy tale story for Napoli in particular. We anticipated them possibly making a fight of it in the second leg. Of course, in the end, they ended up drawing 1-1 with AC Milan. But talk to me about that matchup in particular, and what AC Milan has shown over those two legs.
They showed a lot of European pedigree. They showed a lot of confidence in what their tactical plan was. Napoli is the better team, but on nights like this in knockout competition, you don't necessarily need to be the better team. You need to be the decisive team, and that's what they were. They have decisive players. Giroud missed a few chances in the first half especially, but when you have a star like Rafael who can take the game by the scruff of the neck, as he did, not only in the second leg but in the first leg as well at times, he's just a superstar in the making. And once Giroud finally got on the score sheet, it was basically confirmed that Napoli wasn't going to get back in this one.
I think what you say there, the individual quality, because, you know, you have a plan. I think Milan did very good over the both legs defensively to make sure they kind of shut down Napoli. But if you want to win something and say a one goal really make the difference in this tie, and here we see Leao, this is not planned. You know, you don't plan, let's pick up the ball in our own half and dribble all the way into the box and then we lay it off for an easy finish. But you need to have certain quality players like this in attacking aspect, and to bring it back to Chelsea, this is exactly what they were missing, that little quality when they're up top. You know, you can have a great tactic, but at the end of the day, matches are often decided by quality players having quality moments.
Well, our focus is now on today's fixture, starting with the battle at the Allianz Arena, where Bayern Munich has it all to do against Manchester City. Yeah, this was the most surprising result of the first leg matches, and it was peculiar not only because of the scoreline. City had just 44% of the possession. City made over 100 less passes than Bayern, but they were clinical. Let's look back at how it went.
Playing The first leg of a quarter-final that might well have been the final, given a different draw. And maybe we're even more fortunate this way because we get to see Manchester City and Bayern Munich play each other twice. Rodri turns away from Musiala and puts it down. Oh, what a goal! Top corner, top quality from Rodri. And he's got it through to Sane, and this is really promising for Bayern. Ederson saved, and clears despite slipping. And here's Haaland, and there's Bernardo Silva! A Silva goal, absolute goal for Manchester City. Alvarez. That was stoned, here is Haaland! He was always going to score tonight. And Manchester City have a 3-goal lead to take to Bavaria and Pep Guardiola's old stamping ground.
Bayern were down 1-0 heading into the second half, where the game absolutely unraveled for them. The question that I have for you, gentlemen, is what exactly took place in that second half, why City were so dominant? Start with you, Eric.
I mean, you mentioned just now the clinical aspect for what City have, but I really would bring it down, and not often to one player, but Upamecano was such a, I think, instability and uncertainty in the back, and then actually making a mistake that will lead to a goal. It's something that that invites a team like City to really start feel confident and play that dominant game that, I mean, we all see and we enjoy it, but it's great to see that they can even play that against a quality team like Bayern once they have a weakness there in the defense.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It was the weak link and City smelled blood.
Yeah, I think this is one of the moments where we see it, and so much time and space. And then, I mean, you know, you cannot do these things against Manchester City. As I said, they will not only score the goal, which they do right here, but you give them a certain feeling that we are going to be dominant in this game.
And that's exactly what happened in the first half, why it was so close. Man City usually pressing a 4-4-2. That's what they were doing for most of the first half, but they would use the ball side winger to really push up onto one of the centre backs. But once Upamecano began making mistakes, because it wasn't only that one mistake, he was making mistake after mistake. Once he made the first of those mistakes, City became much more aggressive in the press. They started pressing more of a 4-2-4. So they pressed 4 attackers against the defenders of Bayern. So it was closer numerically to what Bayern were trying to achieve, so they couldn't play out. Upamecano had time.
But Bayern is a team, though, that at times can play out of those situations. They have players who love to have the ball at the feet. They love to play around. I mean, you see Davies as left back. You see Cancelo. You see De Ligt. These are all players that are used to playing under pressure.
So what happened then?
A player was not able to have a good game, and it's almost, if you have a defense like maybe like Inter Milan that is much more comfortable with just getting the ball higher up the field, you'll be able to deal with this. But if you are a team that loves playing out to the back, loves building up, and that part is not working, it against a team where you say that finds a way to press effectively against your setup, this is the result.
And that's something that you can't really account for, because Upamecano theoretically is their best ball player from the back, but he just always has these moments where it's like his brain just shifts.
I was having a conversation with somebody about his season in general, so not just this game, and they said he was actually having quite a good season, and it almost looks like Tuchel Coman might have given him different instructions that now makes him look more insecure on the ball. Well, as you say, it's part of his game usually, so I don't know if maybe the coach instructions kind of throw him off a little bit. Where are your passing options? What should you be looking for? And maybe now hesitation kicks in. But I think that was a big part of why that match changed.
Yeah, it possibly was. Let's now hear from the Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola as he looks ahead to this second leg.
Pep, Thomas Tuchel has just said that it'll take a miracle for Bayern Munich to go through. I get the sense that you don't really believe in miracles in sport. How do you control miracles?
I've been here in Bayern Munich and I know the mentality of this club. It's in everywhere. In the Sevenstrasse, is in the skin. And I know what they believe. They can do it. We believe too. But So when you are in this type of clubs, and we are going to try to build this feeling that whatever happens, we can do it, like they have for the history they have in the past in this competition, and we are growing with that. So this is what it is.
Kind of sets it up, doesn't it? It sets up the stage. What is to come as Guardiola seeks to win his 100th Champions League game today as manager? And I suppose the question is, gentlemen, can Bayern Munich become the 5th team to just turn things around after a 3-goal deficit in a knockout tie? That's the question. Can they do it?
I mean, as you said, he's experienced at Bayern from within the club, and there are not a lot of clubs that can stay calm when they're 3 goals down. I think Madrid is the best example that not panic in whatever situation, but Bayern is pretty good in staying calm and trusting in their own quality. And any match Bayern plays, they can score 3 goals and win 3-0. It's just against Manchester City. It will be a very,
that is the issue, right? They're not going to be playing underdogs. They're going to be playing one of the favourites of this year's competition.
Yeah, exactly that. And usually, over the years, Bayern are a team that likes to commit a lot of players in attack. They like to push players forward. But I think with Tuchel, there's I don't want to say a fear, but when it comes down to Tuchel against Guardiola, he tends to be a little bit more tentative in what he tries to do. Maybe this 3-goal deficit will draw him out a bit, and he'll want to then start to put those players forward into the box. But it's going to be a tall order, because it's not only to overturn the 3-goal deficit, it's also to stop City from scoring while trying to overturn that deficit. So that's really going to be the kicker, I feel.
Mane and Sane, in terms of what has happened between them, the fight that happened, we have seen the aftermath of the punch on Sane. How do they recover from that ahead of this afternoon's game?
I mean, at this stage, you don't turn coach, but you turn manager, and it's really people management. And sometimes situations like this can actually bring a team and players closer together if it's managed in the right way by the right coach. Is Tuchel that manager? I don't think he has fully proven that yet. I would be more happy to have like an Ancelotti dealing with situations like this. But as I said, I see Sane is starting, Mane is on the squad as well. So I like to believe that it was managed at least in a way that the focus is on the match and not on other distractions.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's obviously a sensitive topic. Obviously something really detrimental was said to even make Mane react like that. So it would take a lot of man management for that situation.
I wasn't expecting it from Mane and his personality.
Exactly. So. That's why I knew as soon as I heard that it happened that he must have said something really crazy, to be honest. So it's going to be, as I said, that comes down to the management of the players. Tuchel has proven over his time as a manager to not really be the best in handling certain player situations. We can think back to even Lukaku in his last season with Chelsea. So there could be some friction there, so it's going to be really interesting to see how that happens. But obviously Sane is someone very important to him and the squad. So
I think even last match, I think he was the main player at Bayern that really created dangerous moments.
But let's talk about Tuchel for a minute, because he's come in, he's replaced Nagelsmann, hasn't really been on a scoring streak, has he? Or a winning streak, really. Just won 2 of the 5 matches that he's been in charge of. What does that say about him? I mean, of course, he's just started, right? And I'm not sure if you guys will agree with me that he's had an abundance of riches as far as the Bayern Munich squad is concerned. So you kind of expect him to do better and hit the ground running, but that hasn't been the case.
That's a tough one. I personally think this might be a bit of a controversial opinion. I don't think this Bayern Munich squad, compared to what they usually have, is very good, actually. Because
should they be struggling in the Bundesliga with this squad?
No, they shouldn't be struggling in the Bundesliga, but he's only taken up 3 games in the Bundesliga so far.
But we were just talking about it. It's Freiburg that knocked them out in the
Pokal,
Should Freiburg be knocking them out in? I mean, he was managing those games, right?
Yeah,
that they lost, and
that's true.
I think he was not brought to the club like, hey, let's make this a next year project. Yeah, he was brought to the club and say, hey, we still have a lot to play for this season, and this is what you can do. And then you have to look at the matches, even though it's just 4 or 5 matches. You have to look at those results, and I think he will be nervous at this stage.
Yeah, Tuchel has always, well, I'm not going to say as always, especially in his time as Chelsea, there was always jokes going around that it's Defender FC for the purpose that his defenders get so many of the goal contributions. And that's proven true even now because Bayern's last 3 goals in all competitions have been scored by centre-back. So it's going to be interesting to see how he can get the best out of the attackers. You mentioned that Sane was really impressive in the first leg, but they're going to need more out of certain players. I'd like to see maybe Choupo-Moting, he's back in the lineup now. We all know what Choupo-Moting is. Yes, he's been performing well, but can he lead Bayern to that next level? Can he be as clinical as Bayern need him to be? That's yet to be seen.
Because I do think that, compared even to Chelsea, where we say, where's the striking power? Bayern has players on the team that are familiar with scoring goals. I mean, you say Choupo-Moting might not be one of the strikers that have been scoring goals his entire career, as if it's easy, but I think Müller has been. Musiala's there as an upcoming player. Gnabry, I think, had a season where he couldn't stop scoring. So they do have the players, and I think it's a lot more now the manager to make sure that they get in the positions to score, and not, as you say, the defenders.
Yeah.
Well, Manchester City, they are on a 14-game unbeaten streak in all competitions, and they are on a 10-game winning streak as well. So they are in a place of high confidence. I don't anticipate them losing the tie. Maybe they'll take their foot off the gas, but I don't think they'll be losing the tie. But how do you think they will approach this second leg? Because knowing Pep, maybe he's just going to be a little bit cautious here.
With Pep, it's always all about control. That's all he aims to do, is control games in every single way. And this new quote-unquote system that he's come up with John Stones being in the midfield quite often, his centre-backs playing really wide in Ake and Akanji.
Is it brilliant?
It is absolutely brilliant, as per usual with Pep Guardiola.
Until they lose.
until they lose, but it's all about the process and about control. I read somewhere that someone said that this might be Pep Guardiola's magnum opus in terms of his City teams, just in terms of how he wants them to play. The control that they can have over games, whether it be in a defensive or an attacking sense, is quite unparalleled. I like to see when Bernardo Silva starts instead of Mahrez in certain games, because of he also offers that control, being a player who has played in midfield over the past couple seasons as well. So I think he's just going for as much control as possible. Bayern want a frantic game, so I think he'll just be trying to manage that, and then from there he'll try and see what can happen.
But the dismantling of Bayern Munich it was a unique watch. I am trying to wrap my mind around as to how they actually did it, how they actually got the better of a strong Bayern Munich team.
It was mistakes.
Mistakes
by Bayern. Man City forced 15 errors in the final third against Bayern. That's the most by any Champions League team this season. So it was just pressure forcing mistakes, especially in the centre-back when they got more aggressive in the press.
And I mean, you mentioned it earlier, even the change in the press, how they adjust to it. But it's trying to make a team like Bayern be nervous in the build-up. And I think that is something that they did very well, where you're asking, will they do that again, knowing that they have a 3-0 lead right now? And that's where we'll see how it goes. But I think that City's squad, when you look at the quality of players and the type of game they can play, they're very they're able to adjust, but they're very good at their game, and they want to have control of the game. A lot of that is by having possession, and the higher up the field they can win possession, the more clinical they are with the finishing.
And speaking of control of the game, right, because all has been made of the attack by Man City and how they have wonderful attacking players, but that has always been the case since Pep Guardiola took over this Man City team. The thing is, I think that they've improved dramatically in terms of their defensive output.
I do want to put a reminder that I think at this stage of the Champions League, I think they're always doing very good.
Yeah.
And they always have that favorite role with them. And once they reach now, after this part, and they reach the semis or even the final, then they now go up against teams who might expose certain weakness areas in the defensive line, where you say, you know, you play with a defensive mid who's not really a defensive mid, and now a team is going to expose that. You're playing with a very attacking backline or that leave gaps in transition. When you play against Madrid, a team that's very good in transition, I wonder if they will be punished for it. As we said, Bayern, we thought was one of those teams, and they had chances as well. But they were still able to defensively keep a clean sheet against Bayern, which is quite impressive.
Yeah, Erling Haaland with a goal today, mind you, will be leveled on 12 with one. Ruud van Nistelrooy for the most Champions League goals in a single game, and he's obviously critical.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we talk about striking force when we look at Chelsea, we look at Choupo-Moting, but Haaland is from he reached, I think the first game he played was a Community Shield. He was not that great, and everybody wondered, will he be able to pick it up?
Which was pretty unfair, but fine.
He has been firing ever since after. So, you know, and I think the combination with De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, who understand the teammates that they're playing with, it's really a joy for City fans, but for Haaland himself as well to be playing football right now.
All right, predictions. Prediction time, let's go. Who are we going with?
I actually think that City will win the game.
Oh, you actually think so?
Yeah, I think they'll win 2-1. I'll say City 2-1 win, go through semi-finals.
And what are you thinking, Eric?
I was thinking 2-1 as well, but I give it to Bayern and City advance eventually. But I think Bayern might be a 1-1 and towards the end still try and get us next one and maybe still get a win and give City a little loss. 14 in a row, they're unbeaten.
Yeah, they're due.
Yeah. Otherwise, they get it later on in the semis or in the final. You know, better to have it now when they can afford it.
Yeah, when it really doesn't matter. Right? When we return, we will shift our attention to that matchup inside the San Siro. Inter Milan has the 2-0 advantage over Benfica. We'll take a break.